Hello everyone, this is Metellus with another episode of Scrap Mechanic. As usual, it's been a while, but got something interesting here that I've never done before. Up front, I'd like to give credit to Magma, who came up with the design for the cannon on this thing, and Con Gaming helped also with the idea for additional stuff with the cannon and the loading mechanism. And also Clumsy helped with the gyroscope that you'll see on this thing for keeping it stable for the most part. So I can't take credit with the actual ballista design of this cannon or the gyroscope that is on this flying machine. So I'll get into it. It's pretty fun. It's not perfect, just like most things in this game. So here is the hovercraft with a mounted cannon and gyroscope to help keep it stable while it's flying. Again, it's kind of difficult to keep straight when it's flying and everything, but yeah, it's pretty maneuverable, not bad. So you see a lot of stuff going on here with this build. So the cannon, you notice those different lights on there. That shows you kind of how much ammo is in there. The red light is lit because it's empty. So let me go ahead and bring it down a little bit and we can load it up. Cool thing with this build, let me land it all the way so I know it's level. So we're hovering right now, and that's really just balancing out all the different thrusters and everything to have it perfectly balanced. That's how you get it to hover like that. So cool thing about this design is you can actually go and, if I can hop up there, yeah, right, can load up the cannon while it's hovering above the ground. There we go. And the lag becomes real at this point for a little bit. So one green light equals one round in the clip. Not the chamber necessarily, but one in the magazine, rather. So let's see if we can actually hit something with this. Now we're at about 15 frames per second, so that makes it a little more difficult. You know how things lag in this game. So when the light above me turns green, it's about to fire. Any second. And it just kind of dropped out there. Alright, let's try it again. Up, having a little trouble. That's not good. Oh. The more that goes on in this game, the worse the frame rate gets, and the more stuff kind of lags out at that point. So let's just turn everything off and see if I can get the jaws of life to exit this vehicle. Okay. There we go. Alright, let's try this again. Now this time I only put 3 rounds in to hopefully make it a little easier for it to hit the target. Not as much lag at this point. Let's see what we can do at almost point blank range here. That didn't sound good. Green light, about to fire. Alright, we shot over it. Let's lower it some here. Alright. There we go. It hit it, but it must not have been strong enough. Let's see if it just went straight through it. Yellow light means it's on its last shot. Okay, so it doesn't look like that has the strength to really, oh shoot, forgot to turn on the gyroscope. Okay. Okay. So many things to consider. Alright. Let's hop back in. Like how when the door closes, all the lights come on, including the lights on the back. I kind of felt like the design on this was pretty decent. Turn on the gyroscope, and off we go. Still needs some balancing, but I tell you, after a couple of hours of only trying to balance this thing, it becomes a little tedious, to be honest. I went through a couple of versions of this. One version had all the rockets sticking out of the bottom with the suspension as a dampening mechanism. And then I kind of realized, well, you mainly need the dampening on the boosters. Basically everything except for what you use to hover, like I'm doing right now. Well, let's even it out for a sec. So even if I turn off the gyroscope and then just hit the hover boosters, pretty stable. It's hovering off the ground right now. So those don't really need the shocks or the suspension for absorbing anything. So the boosters, to make it go up a little bit, that's a good thing to have the dampening on. And then the rockets that adjust for your pitch and whatever you call it, moving along the different axes when you're flying, those are good candidates for dampening. Otherwise it'll overcorrect a little too much. You can see some of them kind of fire every now and then. I turn the particles off just for the sake of performance. So, let's see if I can get out and load this thing while we're in mid-flight without a total catastrophe. Yep, okay. Not getting that one back. At least not for a couple days. Well, that was fun. Let's put another one down so I can show you what I had going on. Okay, so the spider web on this one is definitely real. The cannon on its own is very similar to Al Magma's design, just because it's that ballista design that's based around the controllers when you try and make them do something but hold them from doing it, and then when you let go of that, which was holding it back, it springs into action really quick. So that does a lot better on its own. When you mount it onto something like this, it becomes a little glitchy. Either the loading mechanism or the firing mechanism kind of glitch out, or both. All right, let me try this again. See if I can load it and show you how it fires. We're angled up a little bit, so it might be kind of tough. And might not be able to jump up on here like I want. Okay. Close the hatch. Alright. Hitting the firing button does nothing this time because nothing is loaded. Okay, it pushes one round in there. It clamps down to kind of create a better chamber for it to fire through. Yep, that one slipped out. Okay. See that little arm at the top? It pushes one that should drop down in. and then that other mechanism comes across to create a barrel situation, and then the light turns red when it's empty. And might as well turn that off for now because it's empty. So those of you that don't know how the gyroscope works, you can go to Clumsy's video for it. He built a hovercraft with a gyroscope. The basic concept is that this spinning thing in the back, those two spinning arms, one arm is spinning clockwise, one is spinning counterclockwise. What that does is it tries to keep the free swinging mechanism on here level with the horizon. It tries to. It doesn't always. It's not a perfect system, but you got one bearing here that's free, and you got a bearing here that's free. So whether it turns side to side or front to back, it's going to lean counter to that. Oops, my body was activating one of the sensors there. So what's actually activating the sensor is this bar right here. You see we got one sensor here, one sensor here. And what that does is, whether this bar goes up or down and activates one of those sensors, it is connected to a corresponding booster that will help correct based on that pitch. Same thing goes for these two right here. It's actually picking up on this back part of the gyroscope. So that's a pretty ingenious thing that I probably would have never thought about. Clumsy came up with it over a year ago, and lots of people have repurposed it for the hovercraft and everything, different motorcycles, things like that. And you can do all sorts of stuff like that. So the firing mechanism for the cannon, you can see here, the controller aims to straighten out those arms all the way, and you have two little arms that hold it back. When those two little arms let go, then it shoots it straight out. And those little lights are just a combination of sensors and logic gates to say if none of these are active, then it's red. If basically the last one is only active, then it's yellow for caution. And then there's one for each one of the positions in the chamber, just to show a green light for however many are, how much ammo you have in the magazine. So it was a lot of fun to build. It took a lot of time to try and balance out the weight and everything, but as always, had a great time with it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. It's always a fun game, you know, there's always stuff to do, so just go nuts, have fun. Send me a message, and talk to you guys later.